because when you retire, you're gonna have 5-10 times the amount of free time. And if you're already habitualized to doing those behaviors that are not healthy for you, you could spend a lot of time doing unhealthy behaviors. It's like putting gasoline on a fire. So when I started my retirement, I thought I was gonna go set the world on fire. I was gonna climb all the 14ers. I was gonna go travel the world. I was gonna go to more cruises than Josh. And within about 2 weeks, I realized that what I needed most was a restorative break. And so I'm gonna be talking about some of the philosophical takeaways and things, and maybe some tips for people that feel like they need a break in their life from that I learned from this first year. A little about myself first. My name is Ryan Connell. I was born and raised in New Jersey, pretty much the same place that Kevin was. Went to Cornell. Did about 15 years of stuff in aerospace. Lots of cool stuff. Would love to talk to you about it. Can't. Year ago, I handed in my badge and came and talked to you guys. So this is basically my 1-year anniversary on the dot. Since then, I've been nerding out helping people. That's Lynn from behind, if you're not used to recognizing Lynn from behind. And realized some of my own. That's me climbing a little bit in Clear Creek Canyon, and then camping out of my car on BLM land in Nevada. It's a beautiful spot. First thing I want to do is talk a little bit about people that are preparing to leave. I got a couple of interesting tidbits that I've thought of when I was making the transition that I think might help you guys start pre-gaming. The first one is that you need to defeat your defrag demons. If you're out at dinner with somebody you really care about and you can't get off TikTok or the news feed or Candy Crush, or you're somebody who comes home and you get 1 hour of free time and you spend it drinking or something else, you need to start working on those things, because when you retire, you're gonna have 5-10 times the amount of free time. And if you're already habitualized to doing those behaviors that are not healthy for you, you could spend a lot of time doing unhealthy behaviors. It's like putting gasoline on a fire. So start thinking about those things in your life that you want to start changing now so that you have the life you want when you're retired. Another one is to prepare for social bankruptcy. If you're like me, you know who that is on the right? That's a funny slide. If you're like me, you had a lot of your friend network in your job. A lot of people can handle 10 to 15 friends, and you need those to be really effective in your workplace. When you leave, everyone will talk about how they're going to be friends with you and it's going to be great, and you will almost never see any of those people ever again. So prepare for that, get yourself in that mental space, start building and figuring out where you're going to build new friend networks and social networks. The third one is to form your resolve. And you need to know why you're leaving, why it is that you're going. I can tell you, when you get down to the last few months before you go pull the plug, it's really easy to be like, now that I don't have to be here, it's not as bad as I thought. I could stay another 2 or 3 months, right? So you need to really know why you're going. I took a lot of notes and had a notebook and wrote down all the reasons why I was leaving. And when I got close to the end, I could read back through that and remind myself why this was the right decision for me in life. Visualize your Independence Day. Having a hard date here in a moment that I was working towards kept me motivated and kept me from moving that date. Check your safety gear, look at your Excel table or whatever it is you're using to do your calculations, but also understand that you're a very competent person and you can do a lot in life if you need to, and that is part of your safety gear. And then do something harder. My wife and I, for our 10-year anniversary, we went skydiving 2 months before I left work and right before I gave my notice, and it put all that difficulty into context for me. It was so much easier to do the stuff I needed to do to leave once skydiving was in my life. The last one for preparation is to give yourself a soft landing. Some people are going to switch to part-time and ease into the additional time in their lives. For me, that didn't work, because if I worked 10 hours a week, I'd spend 70 hours a week stressing and focusing on what I'm going to do during my 10 hours a week. I have to know that about myself. You may be different. I left work, hung out with you guys for 3-4 days. I went to Fin Talks for a week. I was exhausted when I was done, but I had a smooth transition. I didn't just wake up the next morning and be like, oh my God, what did I do? Was this the right decision? I never had that experience. And give yourself some time to relax. Don't go crazy right out of the gate. It's not worth it. At that point, I left Fin Talks and I left the CampFI weekend, and I was starting over. And I looked back through my notes and journal over the past year, and there were 3 concepts that kept coming up again and again and again in my thoughts. And I want to kind of break down those concepts with you guys and explore them a little bit and see if they help you as well. And they are negative time, impermanence, and Ikigai. Negative time is a corollary to negative space. It's kind of complicated, right? When you look at these photographs and when you think about things that are like visual rhetoric, Space can be a subject all unto itself. It can create reverence. It can create a sense of scale like we get in that middle photo. The top left right there is the 9/11 memorial, where the emptiness of what used to be there is the statement in and of itself. So it's a very well-defined concept in terms of space. I want you to think about that in terms of time. And this is not dead time or wasted time or free time. This is time you're intentionally designing into your life to make your life better. You are not wasting this time. Similarly, when we talk about minimalism, minimalism can actually create a sense of abundance in space because you have enough. There's room for everything. You're not overwhelmed. Negative time can create a sense of abundance with your time. Think about this right now. Look at this photo. Think of how it makes you feel. Is that what your calendar makes you feel like when you look at your monthly calendar? When you go live your day, is that what your day feels like? You did all this work to have an abundance and a richness of time. Are you actually enjoying and experiencing that abundance and richness of time? Similarly, there's a lot of books on productivity, a lot of things out there in the world. I think there's kind of like a short circuit here. The companies in the world want you to be productive. The individual people, everybody, you want to be happy. And so there's all these great books that have been written that say, if you're productive, then you'll be happy. You get what you want, they get what they want. And everybody wants the book. That's not true. That's not really how that works. What I want is for you guys to feel like you have an abundance of time. I want you to savor that time. I want you to bathe in that time. I want you to bask in that time. Everybody close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're in a hot tub or in a hot bubble bath, and you're relaxing and it's calm and there's candles and you have your favorite music on and you have your favorite scent in the room, whether it be lavender or barbecue, I don't care. Okay? Think about how you feel right now. Okay, open your eyes. I want you to feel that way about your time. I want you to take long, hot bubble baths in your time. Okay? That's negative time. How do you do that? That's great, Ryan. That's really abstract, really cool. How do we actually go do that? Well, we can do that on 5 different time domains that I can think of. The first one's in the present moment. Stephen Covey talks about being response able and stopping when everything gets out of control in your life and actually deciding how you're going to respond. It can be done. It is very hard to teach yourself to do it. But that's your first degree of freedom, and everybody in this room, regardless of where you are in the process, can start working on that now. The second one is in the task. Once you have all the free time in the world, you can give tasks way more time than they deserve. You need to do something that takes an hour, give it like 5 hours. Did you get more quality? Was it more relaxing? Was it more enjoyable? Just because you can get something done in an hour doesn't mean that's the optimal way for you to go do that thing. The next one is in the day. Open up a few hours. Don't schedule the few hours. When you get there, decide, am I going to go for a walk? Maybe it's a beautiful day out right now and I need to stretch my legs. Or maybe I'm exhausted and I want to take a nap. Go take the nap. What's important is you got to that point in your day and you gave yourself the freedom to decide at that moment how you were going to spend it. So you felt like you had an abundance. This one's one of my absolute favorites. In your week, schedule 1, 2, maybe 3 days. You have nothing on your calendar. Absolutely nothing. You have done nothing to tell your future self, you must do this on this day. And when your future self wakes up, they have complete freedom to decide how they want to spend that day. And you'll be shocked at the dynamicness of what you go do. But those are some of my favorite days when I wake up and I just decide in the moment, how do I actually want to spend my day today? Some of the days, this February, I would wake up and say, I'm actually curious about learning more about these tax laws I don't know as much about. And I would spend the day researching tax laws. And other days I'd wake up and I'd go snowboarding. And I'd have no idea which one I would want until I wake up. But feeling that way and waking up and feeling like you're in control of your life and you're able to actualize in that moment is very powerful. The last one is in your year. Open up segments, weeks, give yourself blocks of time. Last year, my wife and I learned about Scott's Cheap Flights, now called Going. Random deals on flights, really cheap, but you have to have complete time freedom to really take advantage of them. We leave blocks of time in our schedule open. We were in Baughier a few weeks after we left CampFI. A deal came up. We had left December unplanned. And in December, we ended up in Cabo San Lucas because there was a great deal and it sounded like fun and we'd never been there. Similarly, a deal came up and we're going to New Zealand. It's a 6-week trip later this fall. We're really excited about that. We've wanted to go for 12 years. And the deal was through Fiji Airways, and Fiji Airways had planned a 4-hour layover in Fiji. So I went in and tweaked it a little bit, made it an 8-day layover in Fiji, and we have free flights to Fiji because we have time and freedom to do those things. Also, I had a block later this summer. Couldn't stop thinking about the Colorado Trail, so I'm going to go do the Colorado Trail and see how my attempt goes. But these things give you the sense of spontaneity and freedom that everybody talks about, but it's hard to figure out how to actually put that into your life. So those are techniques for you guys. There we go. When you get there, don't build a prison for yourself, okay? You just broke out of prison. Don't rebuild it. I was in a WeWork space and I was walking around and I'm like, man, I could really focus here. I could be really productive. And then I realized, wait a minute, I just spent 15 years getting out of cubicle land. Why would I pay somebody to put me back into cubicle land? And I reset and started focusing on building a life where I spent more time in the outdoors, which is exactly what I wanted to have. You can also do this with your to-do list. I heard a couple people last night talking about that. You can create a to-do list that is so overbearing and harassing that it's like you're imprisoned by your past self. Don't do that to yourself. All right, Ryan, how do we not do that to yourself? That's me. Every now and then I get really excited and think I can do everything I could ever want to do in the world and just need to snap my fingers, right? So I'm not a huge fan of Marie Kondo's sect of minimalism, but one of the things I like about her is her positive dismissal technique that she has, where you thank something and then kind of kick it on its way. So when I start getting in these moods where I've got lots of aspirations and ideas, I thank those aspirations and then I put them on a someday maybe list. It's a getting things done concept from David Allen. It's very similar to a parking lot, if you've ever heard of that in corporate America. And the idea here is that it's not a to-do list, it's not a bucket list, it's not something that I need to go revisit. I could do nothing with that for the rest of my life. All I've done is acknowledge it, put it down, let it leave my brain, and then it goes on timeout for as long as it needs to go on timeout. And if it revisits and comes back, Colorado Trail would not leave me alone this year, so I'm gonna go do it. So that's a technique for you guys. Don't put all that stuff on your to-do list and force yourself to go do all your aspirations. Give yourself a break. That was negative time. Let's talk about impermanence, not permanent. When I was leaving my work and my career, I had a big issue because I had just spent the last 20 to 25 years of my life running in one direction as fast as I can and climbing as high as I could go. All of my investments were in one purpose. I had climbed really high on the mountain. And now my plan was to just throw all that to the side and say, none of that matters anymore, really. Some soft skills, but none of that really matters anymore. And I'm just going to go live a totally different life now. And it brings up the question is, was climbing up here a mistake? Did I just waste the last 20 to 25 years of my life? And no, because I needed that experience to know what I needed to go do next. The issue is that sense of permanence, that inertia, makes it really hard to move your life in the direction that you want your life to go because you've got so much inertia built up. So what you need to do, in my opinion, is embrace evolution as a fundamental part of your life. Think back. Who you were 20 years ago. Is that really similar to the person you are today? I would bet with many of you, it's very different than the person you are today. So that's sort of a data point, sanity check that you will continue evolving in the future based on how much you've evolved in the past. I read the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. It's a really great book to see how this process works over the course of an individual's life. If this sort of stuff, philosophy, interests you, go read it. I consider that a fire book. They don't talk at all about taxes or real estate plans or depreciation or anything like that. But that might help you in many ways that all the other fire books you're reading are not helping you. Be cautious of permanence traps. The fundamental permanence trap right now is the internet. The internet has memory that lasts beyond human memory, human lifespans. So it's just unnatural. We acknowledge that we all evolve and we forget things naturally over 5 years, 10 years. We forgive. The internet doesn't forgive. It's always exactly the same as it was. And that makes it very difficult because a lot of you are out there and the role models you have that have fired tend to be people that are very vocal. They're the vloggers, the bloggers, the people on YouTube, the people who are writing books. They're out there in the internet. And so you say, well, what is next for me? And it feels like what's next for me is I should write a book, or I should start a blog, or I should blog. This can be dangerous because when you think about people who created personas, they can almost get trapped by their persona. Everybody expects them to be that way. If you haven't watched the Elvis Presley movie, go watch that and see how hard a time he has breaking away from Las Vegas once Las Vegas has decided that the two are synonymous. Sergei Rachmaninoff was like haunted by Prelude in C-sharp minor. If you play piano, you might know what that is. It's just a piece that he wrote. It was so popular, he got tired of playing it. He couldn't take it anymore. Everybody knows Helena Bonham Carter from a number of different movies. She always seems to play the same character. No one will give her any other roles because that's her persona. I'm not telling you guys not to go do these things. I'm just suggesting that you be cognizant of the permanence that a lot of those things can create, especially if you're very successful, so that you can be sure that I want to live this persona for the rest of my life, perhaps. Or I'm going to acknowledge that the world may now interact with me and expect me to be that person, even after I've evolved past who that person was. You can also avoid permanence at the outset. Start big aspirations as projects. Don't just start writing the book. Do some small writing projects or make maybe a small video. Don't open a YouTube channel right out of the gate. One small step at a time. As best as you can, see if you can try before you buy. You don't want to get in there and commit to things without knowing exactly what it is you're buying. I recommend maybe like 4 to 8 weeks. Pick a project, play in it, see if it's right for you, then commit to what it is you want to go do. And then you got to be in tune because we're going to keep evolving. But if you aren't listening to yourself, you'll miss the fact that you've moved past what you used to be. So it's hard to read, kind of on purpose. Be in tune with what is out of tune in your life so that you can be open to where it is you need to go next. That was Impermanence. Let's talk about Ikigai. Ikigai is a concept that comes out of Japan. We talk about it in the FIRE community a little bit. Basically, it's the confluence of what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can be paid for. If you can answer all 4 of those pieces, you create a sustainable model to do something for your life and create what they consider to be your kind of reason for getting up, your reason for being. Once you're fired, you don't really care about getting paid for it as much, but you do care about getting rewarded for it. You need to feel like the world values what your contribution is so that it continues and you can keep doing what it is you're doing, even if you don't get paid. For people that are into happiness theory, what you're good at also kind of gets into mastery. You'll hear that term thrown around. Similarly, flow kind of comes into what you love. So you can check a lot of those boxes towards happiness by finding something that kind of works for you as an Ikigai. Uncovering your Ikigai is really hard. It's a little bit like I have Jurassic Park there for you guys, trying to piece everything together after the fact. I've actually given full presentations on harnessing the power of your subconscious to solve problems. People are curious about that. You can come talk to me. That's a great way to do it. Another one is just kind of like listen, meditate, brainstorm, journal, explore. Got Yes Man up there from Jim Carrey. So say yes to a bunch of different things, even things you think you might not like, and see if that points you in the right direction for where you need to go next. So what is my current Ikigai? My current Ikigai, I am working with the Colorado Mountain Club, and I've recently become an instructor to go teach people how to get into the outdoors and learn a lot of their basic skills. So walking through those pieces, I love the outdoors. Nature speaks to me. When I gave my first intro 2 years ago here at CampFI, I talked about how the mountains speak to my soul, because that's who I am. What you're good at? I'm not only good at the outdoor skills, I'm also pretty good at teaching and giving people conceptual knowledge. Hopefully you feel that right now and you're not confused. In terms of what I can get paid for, the biggest benefit I've gotten this entire year was when one of my students sent me an unsolicited email thanking me because they thought they would never figure out how to work with map and compass, and now they feel much safer in the backcountry navigating based on what we were able to teach them and how I approached the material with them. So I didn't get any money for that, but that's one of my favorite things I've ever received in my life right now. And what the world needs, this is where your mission is at and your passion. For me, I think that when people spend time in the outdoors, they make better decisions for themselves and for society as a whole. So the more people I can bring into the outdoors, I'm changing the world and the way that we're going to make decisions around here. So that's what my mission focus is for this. All right, so now we talked about impermanence, but then you said Ikigai, where you find the one thing that you want to do for the rest of your life. Those don't make any sense together, Ryan, right? We're going to use negative space and bring this all together for you guys now. Life is not a continuous path like we know from an impermanence. You're going to go all over the place. When I started, I had a job. I thought it was a good fit for me, but then I drifted away from it, and it was no longer a good fit for me anymore. So I've got a new Ikigai, but that's probably not the last one I'll ever have. I'll probably have another one, and then another, and another, and I'll keep reinventing myself as I evolve, as long as I am cognizant and give myself the space to listen and to adapt. And that's it.